let's look at pulse width modulation here. First thing I'll do is create a new instrument, create a new layer, create a new wave sample to get the square wave. And here it is. And let's select wave sample 1. And let's go to the edit wave page. And now set the loop mode to loop forward. And move to the Loopstrt page and set it to 0. Set the auto loop finding to on. And move back to the loop end and set it to 69.69 for a nice pulse wave. And then let's resample this pulse wave to layer 1 in instrument 1 to wave sample 1, key G3 for about this much. Here we go, let's keep it, I believe that's fine. Now let's set the output bus back to bus 1 and lower the volume of the wave sample to about 60 or something. 50 is fine. Let's edit this wave sample and set the loop mode to loop forward. And move to the, hold on, yeah, I need to get one page further here. Okay, go to the loop end and set it as short as possible, so we get a single cycle waveform loop, and this is perfect. Now set the loop, the sample end to the same as the loop end, and let's truncate this wave sample. So now we have a single cycle waveform of 166 samples. Let's transpose it down an octave to set the root key to G4, and now we have this funky clavinet sound. If you want to, with a little bit of tweaking, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do something else in the next part. Let's move on, and since we're in the pitch edit page, let's just move one page to the right to the LFO amount and set it to 0 by pressing the up and down key at the same time. So no LFO modulation. And let's move back to the edit wave page and set up the modulators. So let's move to the mod page and set it to Loopstrt and set the source to LFO. Then we'll move the modulation amount to 80 and we set the range to 16 samples. And now listen to what happens. Totally nothing. That's because we need to set the LFO as the modulator. So let's move to the LFO page. Choose a positive triangle or a positive sine wave. It doesn't really matter. I choose the sine wave. I'll set the speed to 20. Move to the next page. Set the delay to 0. Set the reset to on. So the LFO starts its cycle every time I press a key. Let's move back and set the LFO depth. And now something starts happening. So the LFO is modulating the length of the single cycle waveform, but every time it shortens it, the pitch gets higher, and that's not really what we want. So So to counter that, we're gonna use the LFO and set the modulation amount to modulate the pitch in such a way that it's now constant. So the pitch now is constant, while the harmonics getting modulated because of the length of the loop. So there you have it, pulse width modulation on the EPS-16 Plus. Okay, that sounds good. If you want, you can play around with the speed of the LFO a bit. So now spice it up and copy this layer. So we're gonna have 2 layers. Both layers sound now identical, so we're gonna change that up. So we're gonna change the wavelength of wave sample 2 just a little bit. So you get a wider and fuller sound. And just adjust the speed of the LFO as well. Yeah, I like that. So give it a bit of a release and play away. Let's spice it up some more and add some reverb. Let's gonna make it sound big. So let's choose the long reverb, give it a lot of mix, about 48%. And let's set the decay to long. Let's add some pre-delay. So we tweak the settings a bit, like panning each layer to left and right. You get something like this. Or you can add more of a rhythmic pattern and something like pitch modulation. So you're not limited to doing this to a pulse wave, of course. I have a 3-layer patch here that has a pulse wave, a square wave and a saw wave. And you can do it with any wave basically that you create in the EPS-16 Plus, and I'll let you listen to them separately and then in the patch. And this is the pulse wave. And I'm actually modulating the LFO speed with my foot pedal. So next is the square wave, and I set it to mono mode. And then the saw wave, of course. So when I switch on the other layers, here's how they sound together.